that's certainly not due to me. I should stop blathering and introduce to you first of all, our poetic opener, and then afterwards we'll have our featured reader. Okay, our poetic opener tonight is Meharoona Ghani. And she brought various books for sale for $20 each. She is a writer and poet published in many collections, including Body and Soul by Caitlin Press, or The Muslimah Who Fell to Earth by Mawenzi House Publishers, and a forthcoming anthology by the Federation of BC Writers as a result of making the 2021 literary contest shortlist. Meharoona, please read to us.
Thanks. Hey, myself settled here. I hope you officially don't start the time until I'm settled.
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, and it's great to see many familiar faces. And I have to thank Jen for inviting me to be the opener for you, Jen. It's just Jen, we go back a long time, was my mentor in my SFU writer studio days and my friend. And I'm just, it's just an honor and a privilege to be here and be your opener, and congratulations to you. And we bonded over Rumi. That's what brought us together. So I'm going to be reading excerpts from the two anthologies I brought today for $20 each. And it's called, the two anthologies are Muslimah Who Fell to Earth, and the other one is Body and Soul. And like as was mentioned, I'm working on my full collection is Letters to Rumi. So the way the structure works, it's lyrical prose and poetry, it's creative nonfiction. And I'm responding to Rumi's poets about contemporary issues that I face. So these are the excerpts you're going to get. This first set is from the Muslimah Who Fell to Earth. Dear Rumi, what if you were caught in a hair ball? I woke up to limp fingers. My arm was pinned in an awkward position. I shot up in bed, shook my arm, waited. Is this what paralysis felt like? The fingers became conscious, then I continued a morning gratitude practice. I was 34 when I was told I had multiple sclerosis. That's all I needed, another barrier. I was 8 years old when I learned I was different in Golden, British Columbia. Yep, those white kids surrounded my sister and me, made fun of our names, and yelled Paki and Hindu. We broke free, ran home, and asked our parents about the words. Now, in my 40s, I still don't quite belong. This Rocky Mountain, born and raised golden girl who had labels imposed on her, or who had chosen labels and tossed them out, is unraveling. What kind of Muslim are you? Sunni, Shia, Ismaili? No Sunni would write this. Why does society obsess with where I fit? My seeds blossom to reveal calligraphy on each petal. I continue to be studied. Open your arms. Let me spread over your chest. Hold your pulse against breasts. Brush fingers along the hair on your head, lips near nape. We crave connection. It was through our eyes we saw the other, heard beats, exhaled, concealed, pushed and pulled at unseen places. This next piece is, I'm not going to read all of it, I'm going to skip right to the poem, but this is a conversation, a dialogue that ensued between myself and teenage Muslim girls that I was mentoring, and some of them wore the hijab, which is the head covering, and some didn't. And their main question to me was, what do I think about showing skin? And the reason this conversation was happening was post 9/11, and some of the girls in the high school that they were at were attacked and their headscarves were pulled off by some racist kids. So I'll just start with the quote. The cost of choice, quote, "The world's flattery and hypocrisy is a sweet morsel. Eat less of it, for it is full of fire. Its fire is hidden while its taste is manifest, but its smoke becomes visible in the end." End quote, by Rumi. What is it about women's skin, the sweetest landscape, that sends man into vengeful missions to claim a plot on our bodies? I'm unable to remove the image of India's daughter brutally torn apart in 2012 with her intestines pulled out, left to die. She was blamed for being out late at night with an unrelated man. He was a friend, beaten unconscious. Her lesson, gang rape. Like animals on a hunt, mouths wide opened, sucking on the world's flattery and hypocrisy of the skin's canvas owned by a woman. Piece by piece, plot by plot, landscapes sold, packaged to the highest bidder, morsels swallowed. Tell me, Rumi, when does the smoke become visible? And I'll end with a piece from, again, a little excerpt from Body and Soul, the other anthology. This whole piece is about the loss of my uterus and going through a hysterectomy. And the conversation is between my mom and I, talking about virginity and sex and what that meant in terms of being a Muslim. My uterus is a tree. Quote, "Be like a tree, let the dead leaves drop." End quote, by Rumi. I yelled at the divine, at life, at the universe, at every man I had ever met. I've read that in Islam, sex before marriage is a sin. And when I did my master's thesis on forced arranged marriages of Muslim women, I read a few testimonials of Muslim women who dated and were judged to be unmarriageable or promiscuous. And in some situations, violence erupted. But a man, oh, if he dated, it was okay. And if he's a Muslim and had sex, even though it's a sin for him too, you know who's judged? The woman. I took a breath. I'm just trying to come to peace with the path I chose, no sex before marriage. Now, with my body being cut open and my uterus removed, I questioned my beliefs. Something had been lost. I mourned my sacredness. Mom stood fast, a tree in my storm, mother and daughter caught in a gale. If I was you, she said, I'd be angry too. Rumi, I am a tree. This piece then ends with an acrostic poem, and I'm only going to read 2 lines to end. And this spells basically the word uterus. Underneath my feet, I felt green grass, dried twigs, small soft stones. Toes wiggled into arid dirt. Thank you for being with me since a fetus, since birth, through womanhood. Thank you for being of service. I did the best I could out of love and respect. Rumi, I am a tree. Love always, Meharoona, your light of the moon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meharoona. One more round of applause, please. And did I get that right, Meharoona? The forthcoming collection is called Letters to Rumi. So we are all eagerly awaiting that. All right. And then we go on to, well, it's the last bit of the evening, but that's what we've been waiting for, our featured reader, Jen Currin. Jen Currin is the winner of the Audre Lorde Award and a LAMBDA finalist. And they brought their 5th poetry collection, Trinity Street, which was published earlier this year by House of Mawenzi. Trinity Street is in fact the name of an actual street in Vancouver, but as you would suspect, it's also something metaphorical, the site of an imaginary garden, an imperfect utopia. In this new collection that we are going to hear about now, it is described as heartsick, reverent, irreverent, and quietly political. Jen, please show us what you got there.
Thanks so much. Oh, weird. There I am on a computer. I'm not going to look at that. Thank you so much for that generous introduction, and thanks to all the poets who read at the open mic, all the folks who came out, and a special thank you to Meharoona. Beautiful, beautiful reading. And I'm going to start actually with a poem for. Let me find it. I didn't bookmark this one because oh, I would start with it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. This one I'm going to read from Meharoona. It's called Near the Orchard. I'm not very good at following directions. Have you noticed how often I'm like an inch of cold green tea in a chipped mug? The blue one borrowed when we carried boxes into your new communal house, pots of rosemary and sage on the front steps. I'm sorry I haven't given it back yet, but I want to tell you about this cave, very dark, except for the gold veins running through the ceiling. A cave I've spent some time in, and you are now arching your foot toward, holding an old record player. The song has to be listened to alone. We both know that. You'll go into the cave and call it community work. I'll lend you hand salve, a lamp, earplugs if you need them. You will say, better to have the airline vouchers expire than to have taken this trip. You smell rain sinking into mud. You smell rain splashing on Chinook territory, Portland pavement. You think of safety. Imagine sun slanting through bay windows as your mother puts on another hippie album so the children can dance. I've learned that there are a few things I can't live without. Coffee, books, my body, and friendship, it turns out. And so I've been actually saying about this book, Trinity Street, it's trying to do a few different things. It's hard for me to ever kind of describe a book of poetry in any one simple, summarized way. On one hand, the book is trying on a series of imperfect utopias to see which ones might fit. The book is also a love letter to my friends. And it's also an elegy for people I've lost, and also the many losses that so many of us are facing in this late capitalist climate crisis moment. This is a poem for another friend, the great poet Raul Fernandez, beloved person. From Surrey to Commercial Drive. I was lucky. I caught the bus quickly. It lurched. I tripped. My neighbor and I shared an intimacy. Reading is dangerous. I better be ready. Body and argument, how we are garmented. Quickly caught the boss, told her 2 more books I'd soon finish. 2 more. I had to stop reading. This poetry lucks me. Stole an apple from your house, but only to take it to my house to slice for your breakfast. A pigeon wing feathers my hair as I walk to the restaurant to meet a friend who says he wants to take fewer leaps in his poems, to stick a little longer with one thing. The leaping has become too easy. The bus driver is maybe new, maybe trying to tame the bus. It isn't working. This poetry winks me if my fingers hold the pen lightly. And this one's for all of you. It's called Come Together. And actually my publisher put it on little postcards that are back there. So if you want to grab a postcard of this poem and take it with you, please do. Come together. This historical moment is overwhelming. You want other people to be more quiet more often. On the train, noise from everyone's phone. Crickets in cities are just a sad metaphor for not getting the expected response from an audience. Marble floors in a bank crack, but the revolving doors keep expelling the same face. It's not our father, or for that matter, our mother. Recording the hottest summer on record again as some late 60s tune plays from a loft. We hear it down on the street, and it seems more relevant now than it did then. But that's just perspective, I guess. Like the realization that we wasted autumn in stupid posturing and positioning, and now winter closes everyone's windows, and the songs are sealed up inside. Here's a love poem. It's called Friday Mouth. Vocally, from my belly, from my antlers hang jewels, necklaces belonging to my grandmothers, and a very large pine cone my aunt carried around in a cedar box on her walks. Witness, here for the ancestors who call me on creaking phones in the deep black vitality of night. I'm sleeping. Conversations twinkle the next day, little dusts. I must make notes. Reminded again to love the student who wrote problematic, what she's trying to work out, difficult. Lungs buck a little as I bike up the rainy hill and think of the great American poet in Paris, compose a letter. How are you? And I heard another one of your husbands died. But now's the time to get up and take some tincture. Someone I love is leaving for work, and I watch her slip an earring into a lobe, lipstick her Friday mouth. Later, I will meet her. Keep my soul in a backpack so it may be weighed when I arrive. Ginkgo tree. The deaths are often sooner than expected. Why? Did we think people had unlimited? Dip my toe in weather faint up to heaven. They never guessed the cloud, scholars waiting. Raining cold, I quickly mothered my way out of there into friends' apartments of incense and coffee, alley views. Awareness of tenderness, someone's good luck, someone gathering bottles, and now the clinking of the train. And I wanted to read a poem for LJ, and I have just the one. And so this is for LJ and for all non-binary folk. So many blessings to our siblings in the States and elsewhere, facing a lot of backlash at this time and a lot of really troubling and worrisome and scary legislation. This is called brackets. I had two sisters, parentheses. I had a brother I believed I had myself. After guitar lessons, laughter. After gender lessons, shame. Every shirt fit us both. I wanted to be both. The label said wash with light colors and cold water. The music teacher at recital said, "Where's your dress?" Flutes and clarinets broke in my hands. A reason to read was freedom, a way out of that moldy house. Whenever a board fell, I was responsible. Whenever a spider visited, bites festered. One by one, we drew an imaginary plant and climbed it into the clouds. This is a long reading for me, but it seems like it's going kind of fast. It's because I don't banter. You know, I really don't have a bantering thing. I hosted the this is my attempt at banter. I hosted the poetry bash at the Vancouver Writers Fest last week, and I was like, man, Susan Musgrave is like the best banterer. You know, she's always like, her stories in between her poems are so funny that they're like stories themselves. So I got to get on that. Instead of just reading sad poem after sad poem about death and climate change. Here's a good one for you. Alkaline water. They think it makes sense. They think in sense. In case a random package, my lost luggage. Let's just call it my father's body floating in the purple seas of heaven. And it's difficult, this plagiarism. We can't just open a book and copy a page. We have to listen. Before we steal, we wait and shake. We have a few nuclear codes in our pockets in a seriously way. We might sit around in our underwear reading interviews. People still get famous at any age. I have a big stack of event tickets on my shelf. I want to give you one in the most seriously way, but I fear like an October avocado, it is rotten in the middle. I'm not entirely sure how depression works. I'm not a doctor. We were created in this world, and ginger and turmeric are just part of the lyric that just now has no laughter in it. Our fear of occult experiences as we prep another little pill. The woods. She told me she was going into the woods to find the divine feminine. I will be holding onto her skirts even if I am dragged through the mud, she wrote on a postcard bearing a picture of a northern flicker. She instructed young people on how to be self-sufficient. That's a black bear. Back away. That cave of throbbing light is what we came for, but don't go inside just yet. The coral lipstick she wore on our second date stained my white shirt. We met, like so many, online. I was surprised by her agile fingers. After a while, we lost touch. I stewed in loneliness. She fell in love with her straight roommate, writing her voluminous notes, swaddled in pink envelopes, which she slid under her door. That was the year I finished college just as a great experimental composer died. And although I wasn't invited, I wondered what cake, what prayer at their wedding. And this is the last poem in the book and the last one I'm going to read tonight. And yeah, it's may it go toward all of our healing. Where is the water in this story? They weren't very good MCs talking about pistols, lavender, and last call. I had joined their cult to disappear, and instead they gave me their gold-plated deity. She said, "We're not finished yet." No, these deities aren't done yet. Any choir might remember forgiving a song and those mean men out back bearing another canister of cold silver. I kept thinking the lyrics would get better, that we'd all catch fire in our chests, shake out coins from pockets while changing clothes. But she was pissed. You can't trick a clairvoyant. Talking about you women, she meant the men, and those of us in between. She was serious, dishing up glasses of cayenne water to clear out the bugs crowding our intestines, each of her words a weightless orange. She suggested the disruption would be very interesting, or at the very least, possibly healing. Thank you all.